Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on Arrow Season 6. So in this season of Arrow, we have a large amount of bad guys, or villains, who are serving as antagonizing forces for our heroes, and mainly Oliver. We have Vigilante, Anatoly Kniazev, Caden James, Black Siren, and of course Richard Dragon, aka Ricardo Diaz, all a part of that cabal that we saw set up at the end of the mid-season finale, or episode 9 of this season. But of course, that is just for this season. Arrow is most likely going to get renewed. It would be a shock if it were to be cancelled and not get a season 7. So let's actually look to the future and talk about a character that has been, wanted by some in the past, but has picked up a lot of steam recently, and it's definitely, might I say, a good choice in my opinion as a force to reckon with for Oliver and the rest of Team Arrow, and that is, as you can tell by the title, Lady Shiva. So I do actually want to shout out a subscriber of mine, which is Sam, who has really been pushing for this video topic and even provided some content to put into the video. So thank you, Sam. He's always in the streams, like the live streams I do, so thank you for the suggestion for this video, very much appreciated. Now, bringing Lady Shiva onto Arrow and possibly setting her up later this season would make a lot of sense due to her connections to Richard Dragon in the comics. And she would also serve as a female big bad, which would be a first for the show, and definitely be something different while also being familiar at the same time. But I guess some of you might be wondering, who the hell is Lady Shiva? Lady Shiva is actually seen as one of the most deadly assassins, not just female assassins, but assassins as a whole and in general in the entire DC universe. Since her introduction, which was actually in a Richard Dragon comic book back in the 1970s, she has swung more towards the Batman side of the DC universe and has been more tied to that side of things. Like some notable moments from her in the DC comics tied to Batman include that she trained Tim Drake, who was the third Robin, and she is also the mother to Cassandra Cain, who was a holder of the Batgirl mantle. Lady Shiva is highly skilled in a few areas. She, as I said earlier, is seen as one of the most deadly assassins in DC, and is one of the greatest martial artists as well. She did use a combination of the various elements and moves from various forms of martial arts in order to create a form of combat that matched her strengths, which in turn makes her quite the opponent. Because with other people, they would just learn different forms of martial arts that are just, in general, not to actually match their certain set of skills that they already have. Lady Shiva is also highly skilled in tactical analysis and even has the ability to prevent herself from feeling pain and controlling the rate that she bleeds, so that's pretty insane. But how could they work Lady Shiva onto Arrow? How would that work? Who would she be? Well, for this theory regarding Arrow, the show could bring back Selena Jade in the role of Lady Shiva. So Selena Jade, you may remember, played the role of Shadow in the flashbacks. We actually did see her return for a brief moment this season in the Deathstroke episodes as Shadow. But in this case, Selena Jade would actually be playing Lady Shiva, who is actually May, the twin sister of Shadow, who was introduced during the flashbacks back in Arrow Season 3. At this point in time, it would have been 8 years since we last saw her, so I think that's a decent amount of time for her to have established herself as a pretty decent martial artist. Maybe not to the level that she is in the comics, but definitely to a stage, a very high level, where she would be seen as a massive threat. So an important thing to note is that is actually 3 more years than Prometheus had to get to the point that he was at. Then again, Prometheus was clinically insane, so maybe he would have had a bit of a head start on May in regards to that. But yeah, let's ignore that point for now. 8 years is a lot of time. I think May would have had a decent amount of time to get her skill set pretty high. The story for Season 6 of Arrow could be simply set around Lady Shiva or May wanting to get revenge on Oliver for the deaths of both her father, Yao Fei, and her sister Shadow. When Oliver was interacting with May back in Season 3's flashbacks, he told her that he knew Shadow, but failed to tell May that her, along with Yao Fei, were actually dead. That was until just before Oliver left May, when he does finally tell her that Shadow and Yao Fei are in fact dead. So this is when May actually tells Oliver this: "You have no idea how powerful the truth can be." So those are the final words that May says to Oliver. It is important to remember that at this point, May only knows that they are dead. She doesn't know how they died and what Oliver's involvement in the surroundings that led up to their deaths were. So that could be the catalyst for her journey into becoming Lady Shiva. She simply finds out all of the relevant information. That's what pushes her. If May were to find out how Shadow died, based around that almost impossible decision that Oliver had to make, it could push her over the edge. Take her somewhere else, turn her into something else. But some of you might be wondering as well, what would Lady Shiva or May's end goal be? Well, sure, it's to get revenge on Oliver, but how? They could obviously go down the routine path where Star City is in danger and just create a really interesting character arc around her that sort of makes up for the cliche story beats. Or they could possibly go with something unique, something interesting, something that we have, yet to see. At this time, I really don't have anything on my mind as to what they could do, but if I do think up anything, I will be sure to make a follow-up video on this topic around, what possibly Lady Shiva could be aiming to do. Maybe we could see something later in the back half of this season of Arrow, which could possibly hint at what she might be targeting, because something might come up. One of the big questions some might have though around May turning into Lady Shiva is around how she finds out this information about the deaths of her father and especially her sister. Like, we know that they're dead, but how does she find the finer details, like how they actually died? May hadn't seen Shadow and her father for a while. I think it was around 3 years by the time we met her in the flashbacks. So she had been waiting that long for an answer of some type, some sort of closure. But seeing that she was just told that they were dead, not how, she might go exploring for complete closure. And this is where we could lead down a path where we could get a returning character, a cameo of sorts, to just push May in that direction towards Lady Shiva and finding out what really happened to her family. One option is that Talia al Ghul gets brought back into the show, in some flashbacks. She could be the one that explains everything to May. In Season 5's flashbacks, she knew Yao Fei, and the reason she saved Oliver was because he was wearing Yao Fei's hood. So it would make sense that she would help the daughter of Yao Fei with whatever she needed. This could also open the door to a possible Prometheus cameo in an episode or two, which I'm sure we would all love. So maybe May goes back to Talia al Ghul at a point where Prometheus would have been with Talia al Ghul in training, and then we see Prometheus there. Maybe a bit of a beard going on with Prometheus at that stage, maybe a bit longer hair, who knows what they would go with, but we could get a cameo from him, which would be pretty awesome. May could even just go directly to Lian Yu and possibly come across a stranded person on there that somehow knows some information on what's going on, such as someone from Ivo's ship from Season 2 or something like that. But overall, I think Selena Jade returning as May, who would then later become Lady Shiva and be the main antagonist for Oliver in Season 7, would be great, and they could easily set her up later in this season if she does have connections to Richard Dragon in this universe like she does in the comics. Selena has expressed her interest in returning to the show on Instagram and stuff like that, and as the role of Lady Shiva. And it's not like she is a desperate actor either, like, oh, I need a role, I'm gonna, claw at this role to come back. She was actually in the 9th highest grossing movie of 2017 as the female lead. That's amazing. I had no idea. I found it out like the second last day of 2017. I think someone linked it to me on Twitter, and I was like, holy crap, that's real? Yeah, the movie cost $30 million to make, and it made almost $1 billion. Ridiculous. It was a Chinese movie. The guy that played Crossbones in Captain America Civil War was in it. She was in it. Ridiculous. That movie made so much money compared to its budget, so congratulations there. So she was the female lead in the 9th highest grossing movie of 2017. Pretty mental if you think about that. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comments section down below. What do you think of this idea? Would you like to see Selena Jade, who played Shadow, come back as her twin sister, who we have already had established in the Arrowverse? It's not like some made-up thing. Oh, Shadow had a twin? There's no evidence, but it's here. It's, it was in the show, so she could come back. There's still a grey area there with the character. Did she go off, just lived her life normally, or was there some revengeful parts of her that wanted to get revenge for her family that died? So it's still possible that this could happen, but yeah, leave your opinions in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys, and goodbye.